Hello friends, SimPilot here. Welcome back to another video. Today we are going to take a look at SkyVector. This tutorial was requested by Jerry Jack M. Warner, if I'm not butchering his name. So this will be a short tutorial and I want to keep it at a beginner level, so I won't be diving into too much detail because there is a lot of information on SkyVector that we can talk about. But to keep it to the bare bones, I will just stick to the basics and just show you how you can plan a flight using SkyVector. So when you get to SkyVector's webpage, you will see a screen closer to this. There is a menu at the top. It gives you airport information on this one. You get access to the charts for the whole United States region, but you don't get access to any of the charts for European region or any other region in the world. Charts are only available for United States airports, mostly, and some Canadian airports as well. So North America, so to speak. You get some search options that you can search for a specific airport in using this box. You have a flight plan link, which will put a small window for flight planning, which we will discuss here in a little bit. You get the GPS coordinates of the location you click. If I, let's say, click to here on the map, it will change the GPS coordinate, I believe, to that location's GPS coordinate, but we're not going to worry about this too much. You have some layers where you can get some more information, but we are also not going to worry about these. Okay, there's different things that are used by real-world pilots, because this is why SkyVector is very complicated. Real-life pilots are using SkyVector to file their flight plans for the United States region with the Federal Aviation Administration. Therefore, even if you can use SkyVector for your flight simulator flight planning, you should never ever file your flight plan that you created in SkyVector. I don't want you guys to be in trouble. So let me put it out there. Do not file your flight plan after creating it here. Just, stop at that creation step and do not move any further. These dots you see on the screen are the airports. The green ones are the ones who have approach procedures that SkyVector can provide, or departure procedures. As I said, the European region doesn't have any charts, but United States region does. So if you click on a United States airport and hover over to the name of that airport, you will see these are the charts available for that airport. Clicking this PDF icon will open it in a new tab. Clicking the name of the procedure will open or will overlay it or open it in a small pop-up window on the map so that you can, take a look at them side by side. The bigger airports or the international ones, like if I come over here, and this is San Francisco airport, so if I get there and click on the name, the international airports have more charts available to you that you can take a look. Okay, and for flight planning, as I said, I want to keep it simple. We will be looking, so this is the world VFR map, but we will be spending time mostly in world low altitude and world high altitude maps, which are a little bit different than the VFR map. So I'll just want to cover some information about what this map has. All these lines and numbers, it looks a little bit intimidating at the beginning, but bear with me for a second. I will explain some of the details, not all of them, just to give you a better understanding of what these symbols and lines and numbers on the map represent. so that we can have a better understanding of this map. These black lines that you see are the Victor Airways in the United States. I'm not sure if they are called the same in European region. Usually if you see a black line for the United States region, and I think it's also true for European region, this is a VOR based airway. In other words, if you are using VOR navigation for your flight, you will most likely follow these black lines from one VOR station to another, like you have seen here, from this one, which is Crescent City VOR, to Rogue Valley VOR. Okay, and this is Victor 122 airway, and this is the altitude that you need to cruise at if you are following this, and it changes, like you see here. If you are traveling away from that VOR, you have to be at 8,000. If you are traveling to that VOR after this waypoint, you have to be at 4,000. After this point, you have to be at 6,000, so on and so forth. And these numbers represent the distance from this VOR to this waypoint. And just to show you guys that information, I will just quickly enter this VOR station, which is Crescent City, Kilo Charlie, Echo Charlie. I'll put that as my departure. And then this one, let's just use this one, Kilo Mike, Foxtrot Romeo. Okay, as soon as I hit enter, it will draw a direct line from that one to this between two locations. So now I can manipulate this line to show you some information. And to manipulate the line, you need to left click and hold and drag that line and drop it to your desired station to plan for it. So this is Rogue Valley, and you get the frequency of that VOR station in this pop-up menu, as well as on the map. If you take a look at here, 113.6, and that's exactly the same. So now I have a line that I can play with and see how this information, or if this information holds true. So I'm gonna drag this and drop it on this Rayfix, and I'm gonna plan for that. And as you see, from this VOR to there, it's 10 nautical miles, and this number is exactly telling me that. Same holds true for this Orbin waypoint. If I select that one, and if I come over here, you see distance is 10 nautical miles using Victor 122, and that's what I see here, 10 nautical miles. And this one in the box is from this VOR all the way to this waypoint, and it says 20. 10 plus 10 is 20, so that's exactly right, that this VOR station is 20 miles away from this waypoint. Let's just do another test with planning for this Saxon waypoint, and if I get my arrow to here, you see 5 nautical miles, which I see here, and from here to here, 10, 20, 25, and 25 is represented in that box. So this is how you can see the distances between each waypoint if you don't want to have this pink line, just by looking to the line and checking these numbers. On the flip side of the coin, if I plan for these other waypoints, because I want to show you a bit more information, so let's finish planning and then we will take a look at the numbers after that. If you see now, the arrows of the boxes changed, so this means now that distance is away from this VOR station rather than being from this VOR station all the way, not base station, I'm sorry, I can't speak today, this VOR station to this waypoint. It is measuring the distance from this VOR station to this waypoint. And let's just plan for this final one and take a look at the numbers. So this says if I zoom a little bit more, it says 6, right? So if I come here and check this last one, it says 5.8. So that's pretty close to 6. The second portion, I see 15 here, so that means from here to here it needs to be 15 nautical miles. I have 6 here, right? And then I have 9 there. So 9 plus 6 is 15. So that's pretty close. 5.8 actually, 9.2, so that's 16. So this holds true too. And if you take a look at here, this section should be at least 2 nautical miles because I see 15 here and 17 there. So if I hover over there, I exactly see 2 nautical miles. So this is how you measure the distances. And these numbers represent that this is 7 nautical miles from here to here. This is 9 nautical miles from here to here, so on and so forth. And these are again the altitudes. If you are traveling away from this VOR station, you have to cruise at 8,000. If you are traveling to this VOR station, you have to be at least at 5,500 feet above the ground. So these are barometric altitudes, not radio altitudes. Okay, so this is how you read these lines. The blue lines you see around, on the other hand, are the GPS airways, and these are usually programmed into the GPS unit of your aircraft. And these waypoints are not VOR stations, but these waypoints are GPS waypoints that you can find in G1000's nearest menu if you search for this Echo Romeo Oscar Whiskey Yankee. Okay? So this is how you read the lines and what that information is. Oops, wrong button. The other thing you see around is these numbers: 9, 4, 11, 8, 11, 2, 7, 2, so on and so forth. These numbers are minimum obstacle clearance altitudes. In other words, in this region, either it's a mountain or hill, whatever it might be, to safely clear that obstacle, you need to cruise at least at 9,400. So the bigger number, or the big number, is the thousands, and the smaller one is hundreds. So this is 9,400 feet. And you have to cruise at that altitude to safely travel around this region without, running into a mountain or crashing your aircraft. And this information is all here because, as I said, SkyVector is used for real-life flight planning by real-life pilots. So these are the information about the numbers. And one last thing I want to point is this brownish or khaki lines. These are military airways. We are not going to, mess with those in this tutorial, and I don't really use any of those for my flight plan. So I think we covered the information about the numbers that you see on the airways and what those mean. For the blue ones, it is still the same thing, but you don't get the distances in these boxes. You get the whole distance from one waypoint to another. For instance, if we take a look at this from Homeg to Savo, if I haven't butchered that name, it is 27 miles. And this is the altitude, 10,400. So you need to travel at this altitude if you are traveling from this waypoint to this. So this also holds true for high altitude airways. And it changes to 24,000 because the high altitude airways are above 18,000 feet. Let's go back to low altitude. I don't want to, make this more complicated than it needs to be. So this is how you read these numbers and boxes on the map. I just wanted to give some information about that, but let's take a look at some other things. We have talked about the charts, and the other good thing is Um, this I want to show here. Let's just plug in a different airport because it will make more sense to see it that way. Let's say where we are traveling from Boston, let's say, to New York, JFK, right? Oops, I messed it up there. JFK, enter. So that's our distance that we need to travel. And if you take a look at here, there's a routes link that you can click and open. It will give you some routes predefined between these two airports. The leaf symbol here you see is going to give you the most fuel efficient route, and if you click on it, it will plot the course for you. The one that looks like a hammer will give you the ATC preferred route, and there are multiple. And if you click on it, that will hopefully change it as you see. This is the ATC preferred route from John F. Kennedy Airport in New York to Boston. So you can quickly pick a route, get these waypoints, enter them into your G1000 and have a flight plan ready right away to travel from New York to Boston if you want to. So this is the beauty of SkyVector for US based flights. You can get a route very quickly and plug that in and you'll be up in the air in no time. Okay, and you also get the charts, as I said, like JFK probably will have a lot of charts available. If I click on it, if I hover over, these are all the instrument approach procedures, these are all the departures, these are the standard terminal arrival routes, stars in other words, so on and so forth. So you can check that yourself if you are interested. This is giving route descriptions. I just randomly clicked one of those. This is ILS approach to runway 04 left. And you remember I explained some information about these charts. But if you want to, know more about how to read an approach plate or a departure chart, just drop me a comment down below and we can make a small beginner level tutorial, a short one on how to read these charts. I think this is enough information for US based flights. So now what I want to do is I want to go back to our original flight plan that we used for our tutorial series, which was from Echo Delta Lima Papa in Germany to Echo Delta Delta Victor in Germany. And I need to clear these waypoints here. Okay. And now let's hit enter. Now as you see, it again put a direct line from Paderborn to Hanover Airport. If you look closer, this Warburg VOR quickly catches my eye because this is the one that we used to travel as our first waypoint in our VOR navigation tutorial. So if I click this line and drag and drop it onto that Warburg, I can plan for that Warburg VOR, and I quickly see now I have my departure procedure or departure out of Paderborn is already picked by SkyVector for me. Although this is for GPS departures and we did something different for VOR, and if you remember the chart, this doesn't look quite right because we traveled the runway heading for a while before turning to course 077 and then finally to 124 to track Warburg VOR station. So let's just try to manipulate this line and try to make it look closer to our initial flight plan that we created in the tutorial. So I'm gonna, and you have some planning options. You can plan for Paderborn VOR, which we are not going to do. We can plan for this GPS waypoint Poder. This is I think it's called a waypoint crossing or something around those lines. Or you can exactly plan for that GPS coordinate of the dot or where you dropped it off on the map by clicking GPS plan. I'm sorry. Now I need to, I know my heading or my course to Warburg was 124. That's what I remember from our tutorials. So that means I need to bring that line to 124. That's a little bit too much. Let's just move to this side a little bit. 125, getting close. So you need to play with this a little bit to get them right. 123, and this should be 124. Great. Now I see 068, and I know my course was 077, so I'll bring this down a little bit to match that to 77 while keeping 124 over here. 75, I am getting close. 76, just a tiny bit more, and we should be seeing 77 here. There you go. So now it looks a little bit closer to what we have flown in the last tutorial for our departure. Runway heading 055, and if I hover over here it says 1.8 nautical miles, so I need to make it a little bit longer because it was 2.6, right? So let's see, 2.4, just a tiny bit more, maybe just over this waypoint here, where it gives me 2.7. That sounds about close, and I need to manipulate this a little bit to get 077, and then this has to be 124, so just play with that a little bit more. It takes a little bit practice, but you'll get it. So if I hover over 2.7 miles, 5.9 sounds a little bit too much. It was, I believe, 5.7, but I think that's okay. We will live with that. And then from there to Warburg, this is 12.6. And we will take a look at the rest of the plan here in a little bit. So as I said, if you plug your speed in there, it tells you how long it will take you to get to that waypoint or that travel that first section of your flight plan. This time is quite handy when you are planning your vertical profile. If you remember, at first waypoint we have to be at 1700 feet, and the second one we have to be at 3500. And if I remember correctly, the airport elevation was around 700 feet, and you can check that by clicking to the name. It will give you the runways, right, and then the elevation. And you see runway 06 is 699, exactly 700 feet. So I was remembering that correctly. So that's another good part of SkyVector. You get the information about the airports too. So what I know is from 700 to 1700 I have 1000 feet to climb in about 2 minutes. So if I set my V speed to 500 feet per minute, I will reach 1700 at this waypoint. And to be on the safe side, I will set it a little bit higher to 600 feet per minute to be safely above this altitude when I am departing from this airport. And to get to 3500, if I'm 1700 here, that's 1800 difference between these two waypoints in terms of vertical um, profile. So now if I come over here, and now it says I have 4 minutes to climb another 1800. So if I divide 1800 by 4, that's roughly 450 feet, or that's exactly 450 feet per minute. So if I set my V speed at 500, I will be safely above 3500 when I reach here. So this is really a good way of, planning your vertical climb following the departure chart. And I know we are cruising at 5000, but 12 nautical miles to Warburg in 7 minutes, climbing another 1500 from 3500 to 5000 is no problem. So that's the departure part covered. Let's take a look at the second part of our plan. We know, and if you see, these are the courses or headings out of this VOR station. 007 takes this November 850 airway at 5,000, which is our cruising altitude, for 23 miles from Warburg to this waypoint. And let's just check if it holds true. If I plan for that and come over here, it says 23 miles. So that's exactly right. If you remember, we didn't receive a signal after making that turn, but we followed this course, and halfway through we started to receive signal from this VOR station here, which was 60, almost 60 miles away. So 23, 33, 43, 44, another 24 is 68 miles. You won't be able to receive a VOR signal that far away from here, but by tracking that course, it made it possible to receive that signal somewhere around here, so that we adjust our course deviation indicator to put our aircraft back on track or back on course. So let's move and keep planning. We don't necessarily need to do this, by the way. I'm just trying to show you the distances as well, and how you can, use these distances and time when you are doing VOR, so that after Warburg making that turn in 30 minutes at 100 knots, you can expect to be around this waypoint, and so on and so forth for the other ones. Like another 10 miles in 6 minutes, you should expect to be passing P2 waypoint. And Robeg was one of our waypoints, if you remember the tutorial. So I'm gonna plan for that too. So Robeg is 11, 21, 41, 44 miles from Warburg. So if I start tracking, or if I keep Warburg VOR on my M.2 radio and track the distance from it, away from it when I'm traveling this course, when I see 44 miles on that distance, I should expect to see this waypoint on the map if I'm using a map, or know my aircraft's location roughly, so that I make sure how close I am from my destination. Okay, so the last thing we did was our final approach course into the airport was 092 in the last tutorial. So if I plan for this GPS coordinate, it is giving me 91, and that is close enough for me. And I know now after Robeg, I need to follow 006. Actually, that was 007 if I'm not mistaken. Let's just move this a little bit to here and see what it says. 007, 15 miles, and then this was 92. Yeah. So I know I have 15 miles from this turn, and I can track this VOR station. And if you remember, we tracked the localizer, and the needle started to move, telling us to make that right turn. And I know I have, after that turn, 13 miles into the runway, which will take 6 minutes to descend, so that I can plan my altitude. And if you check the altitudes after Robeg, which means 44 miles after Warburg, I need to start descending because it is 3000 over here. So this airway, or around here, I have to be at 3000, or that's my cruising altitude for this part of the airway. So guys, this is how you can use SkyVector to visually put your flight plan into place and check some distances and time, so that when you are flying VOR, because GPS usually takes you with no problem, but VOR is a little bit complicated, and I like to use SkyVector when planning VOR, so that I get to see the time between two waypoints. What should I expect? I can go and use the timer in the G1000 unit and expect to reach a waypoint or receive a signal from a VOR station, so on and so forth. I hope this is helpful for you guys. Leave me a comment if you have any questions down below. Leave me a comment down below if you have any questions. Otherwise, I think this is where I am going to wrap up the video. Uh, Next video probably will be out around Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. This week, I'm sorry. Until that time, take care of yourself and see you in the next video.